For the first time in the history of the Africa-France Summit, it's being held in an Anglophone country. This is the first one, and of course, more than 30 heads of state are converging here in Nairobi for this critical meeting, which is going to discuss, among others, how to restructure the global financial architecture, as well as green energy, and of course, deepening relations between Africa and France. Nairobi is going to be the host. This meeting is going to be huge. And that's why we have on set the Prime Cabinet Secretary and the Minister for Foreign Affairs, Dr. Musalia Mudavadi. He's going to break it down for us, what this means for us as a nation, and what do we expect out of this meeting. Thank you very much indeed, Waziri, for your time. First of all, help us understand what a moment is this for Nairobi to be chosen, for Kenya to be picked up to host this meeting?
Well, it's a very significant recognition for us, and it speaks to the capacity of Kenya to convene critical international gatherings. Now, on May 11th and 12th, we are going to have the Africa Forward Summit being held here in Nairobi at the Kenyatta International Convention Center. Mm-hmm. This is the primary venue, but there'll also be activities taking place at the University of Nairobi for the Business Forum, and we also have concerts lined up in Kasarani at the gymnasium during this two-day period. So this event or gathering or summit brings together 30 heads of state and government, plus about 4,000 plus delegates, and about 1,500 to 2,000 people who will participate in the business forum. So this is a very, very important event, and it's being jointly co-chaired by Kenya under President William Ruto and Emmanuel Macron, President of France. So we have a very eventful week of next 2 days come ahead of us. Yes.
I know this meeting is going to address 7 thematic areas, and one of them is green energy transition. Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yes, this is a very critical thing. One, Kenya already has 93% of its energy from the green sources. That is largely geothermal, wind, and solar. So in terms of what we have achieved, Kenya is way ahead of many other countries because we want to break away or move away from the fossil fuels. Now, the other thing is to be able to talk more about green industrialization, to also talk about how Africa can also benefit more from green financing, the carbon credits, and so forth. As you will recall, not too long ago, President William Ruto chaired the CAHOSC, the meeting here on climate matters for the African Union.
The African Climate Summit.
And the Nairobi Declaration has become a blueprint for Africa on matters of climate change. So that was a very significant development. So we equally know that in this meeting, the resolutions that come out of here will carry far and wide. And one of the most immediate places is that France happens to be taking over the chairmanship of the G7.
Yeah.
And there'll be a meeting in Evian in June in France.
Yeah.
And President William Ruto, on behalf of Kenya, has been invited. So clearly, this meeting is very timely in the sense that the narrative, the agenda that emanates from this meeting can be part of the broader global conversation. That, I think, is important. And then the final thing I would say is that the whole issue about diversified energy has become even more important because we are now beginning to see the impact of the Middle East conflict on the energy supply chain globally.
We know that France is, of course, a leader in nuclear energy, and I know Kenya, on its part, is planning also to establish nuclear power plants. Is this a conversation that we are likely to pick up with France to help us with expertise as well as funding?
Absolutely. These are some of the areas that will be canvassed in the round table that will be focusing around this thematic area. So you're absolutely right.
You see, when you look at France, it was one of the countries, it was one of the first countries to recognize Kenya's independence back in 1963. But when you look at the trade between the two countries, this is heavily skewed towards France. As the Minister in charge of Foreign Affairs, what message are you going to pass to France to see how more they can deepen their investment in Kenya?
I think we are closing in. It's almost evenly balanced. Kenya has made some very significant advances in the sense that we are able to export primarily to Europe. It's one of our biggest destinations, and France is one of the countries that is party to this. And also some of their, as you heard earlier when the ambassador was speaking, there are close to 200 French companies that have invested in this country. All right, so that is significant. But apart from that, Kenya signed the EPA, the Economic Partnership Agreement with the European Union. And France is a member of the European Union. So the benefits that are defined in the EPA to allow quota-free and to allow duty-free access to the market in Europe includes France. So it is for us now to capitalize on that framework and be able to move forward.
And of course, when you look at the portfolio of the product that we export to France or to Europe, it's primarily agricultural raw product. There will be a meeting between investors, business people, as well as policymakers. What kind of conversations do you expect to come out of that meeting?
The conversation we want is that we want more manufacturing done in Africa. We want more value addition done in Africa. This is really the conversation we should be having. All right? It's not just about extraction. It's not just about extraction of raw materials, whether mineral or agri-waste. We want to be able to send a message that we want more manufacturing of pharmaceuticals. We want more manufacturing of different products. We want more manufacturing taking place on the African continent so that we create more jobs here. All right? We want to export more rather than have more people migrating to Europe. It should be our commodities that should be crossing the seas to the markets in Europe. That is what we want to achieve.
And of course, the French President Emmanuel Macron will be coming to Kenya with a delegation of more than 200 investors. And Kenya has established the PPP Directorate, whereby it is offering ready for investment a project. Do we have ideas of projects that we are willing to market to the French so that they can invest in?
I think in the thematic areas that we talked about, there are several opportunities that will be made available for conversation. And our Ministry of Trade and Investment is well placed to drive this conversation. And I'm sure at the end of the business forum, there'll be some announcements where some partnerships have been conceived, and we'll be looking forward to good progress. So I think there'll be a lot of opportunity. What is also important is that this is an opportunity for the private sector, business-to-business conversation to take place.
Yeah.
All right? It's not just about business and government. The framework that we are creating under the Business Forum is for the businesses to engage directly, face-to-face. In Kiswahili, they say ana kwa ana.
Bega kwa bega. Very well. Let's also talk about one of President Dr. William Ruto's pet project, that is restructuring the global financial structures. I know this is also one of the topics that is going to be discussed here. What do you expect to come out of that conversation, or what do we expect to tell French investors?
I think we want Africa to be rated properly. They have been looking at Africa as a high-risk investment destination. Sometimes the world rating agencies tend to rate us from their perspective. So we want Africa, Kenya included, to have fair and realistic ratings. Our asset base sometimes has been undervalued when you are rating Africa and African countries. So these are things that need to be corrected. We want to be able to get African countries to access more in terms of green financing. This is important. And above all, we would like Africa to be able to access the international markets at interest rates that are not punitive to the African nations. Yes.
And of course, I mean, you're having, tens of heads of state from Africa also coming in for this meeting, and I know the African Union has been pushing to have a table in the United Nations. Is this also a conversation that you're likely to advance with France being one of the permanent members of the UN?
Yes, in the peace and security conversation, there'll be a round table on peace and security. We are going to advance our interests on how we would wish the United Nations to be reformed, so that it is more inclusive and so that it recognizes Africa better. As you know, Kenya is a member of the Committee of 10, the C10 nations for the African Union, whose responsibility is to champion the reform of the UN Security Council, so that Africa can have two permanent seats on the UN Security Council. So this is one of the areas that we shall be canvassing.
And of course, the 2 days that this meeting is going to be here, what should Kenyans expect at the end of this meeting?
I think what we need to expect here is that we are laying the foundation for durable and sustainable partnerships, and we want a program that will evolve, and so that after a 5-year period, 10-year period, and so forth, we can see very, very serious expanded investments on the African continent, but more so for Kenya. I think the thing we need to advise our people is that this is a build-up to bigger things.
Yeah.
Sometimes people tend to say, we want instant coffee. This summit is not about instant coffee. This summit is about creating an opportunity for sustainable, long-term engagements for the Kenyan people, so that jobs can be created. We can have more income on the African continent and for Kenya. And we can then uplift the livelihood of the citizens of this country.
And finally, before I let you go, Bwana Waziri, at the end of this meeting there will be the Nairobi Declaration, which will be a document that is going to contain the aspirations of this meeting. What do you expect to be in that document?
First of all, before we go there, if we were to just look at it also in terms of growing tourism, okay, and the number of delegates that will be in town, this is also very important for us in terms of the service industry, the resources that they will leave here as people who are visiting Kenya and Nairobi for maybe the first time for some of them.
Yeah.
So there are some immediate spin-offs, but we want to look more at the long term. I think what I expect from the declaration is a firm and united and more coherent African narrative. All right? We have to tell our story. We have to define our objectives. We have to tell the world where we want to go. Okay? And to me, this is what should be the anchor of our declaration. It's not about Africa being told what to do. We are now of age as a continent. We must now define our priorities. We must now shape our partnerships. Okay, so this is really what I believe should be weaved into the declarations that come out of it.
Very good. Anything else we need to hear from you?
I think what I would say is that the teams, that is the Kenyan team through the Ministry of Foreign and Diaspora Affairs, has worked very well with their French counterparts, and I want to commend all these teams for working tirelessly to bring this together, and also for the whole of government approach, which has enabled interaction, multi-agency approaches to ensuring that this convention, this summit, the Africa Forward Summit, succeeds. Yes.
Very good. And of course, we must appreciate the fact that it's a very well organized event, and of course, there's a lot of work that has gone behind the scenes to ensure that this meeting becomes a success.
Absolutely.
We appreciate your time, and thank you very much indeed for swinging by and talking to us, Bwana Waziri.
Thank you.
Very good. Okay. Well, we've been talking to the Prime Cabinet Secretary and the Minister for Foreign Affairs, Dr. Musalia Mudavadi, and of course helping us understand what is at stake for Kenya when it comes to organizing the Africa Forward Summit, which is being hosted by Kenya and France. Remember, Kenya Broadcasting Corporation is the official broadcaster for this meeting, and of course we have lined up an extensive coverage of this meeting to ensure that you are updated on what's happening here. My name is OBrien Kimani. Thank you very much for your time.